Welcome to the Deep Dive, where today we're going to be exploring,
The Fourth Industrial Revolution.
right, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and we're going to be basing this deep dive primarily on Klaus Schwab's book.
Of the same name.
Yeah, of the same name, which is a pretty dense read, but it's chock full of insights on what this whole revolution means, what the impact is going to be, and how we can
Harness.
harness it for good. Exactly. So,
For everybody.
yeah, for the benefit of all of humanity, really.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a complex topic, so
It really is.
we're
Yeah.
going to do our best to distill it.
Distill it down.
Yeah. Distill it down into the key.
Baby.
So
Yeah.
that's right. It really is a fascinating topic, and Schwab makes a really compelling case that this whole revolution is not just about
Technology.
technology. Yeah, it's really
It's
about
humanity itself. Wow, that's a
transformation of humanity itself. That is a striking statement, isn't it? It's easy to, like I said, get caught up in the details of the technologies, but you're right.
It goes much, much deeper.
Yeah, much deeper than that.
We're really moving beyond just like the digital revolution, right? I mean, that's kind of like phase 3.
Right.
It's really going into this fusion of technologies across, the physical, digital, and even biological
Wow.
realms. It's kind of crazy when you think about all of the simultaneous advancements that are happening. Like you've got AI, robotics, the Internet of Things,
Of course.
bio and nanotechnologies,
Right.
and even quantum computing.
Yeah. It's not even just that they're developing independently.
Right.
They're all feeding off each other.
It's this this synergistic effect.
Right. It's all accelerating the
Each other.
progress of everything else.
Exactly.
Which is just mind-blowing to think about. And then, like you were saying, the speed
is unprecedented.
is unprecedented. Yeah. I mean, you think about, like, Schwab points out that the internet went global in less than a decade.
Less than a decade.
Right, which is crazy. And he compares that to the steam engine, which took over 120 years to spread beyond Europe.
That just shows you the pace of change is just
Exponential.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just remarkable.
It's remarkable, and it's creating these paradigm shifts
Right.
that are impacting not just what we do and how we do it,
But who we are.
but who we are. Exactly, which I think is
Fundamental.
fundamental. Yeah, and to really get a grasp on this, I think it's really helpful to understand it in a historical context.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Could you kind of, take us back to the basics here?
Sure.
And outline the historical progression?
Of how we got here?
Yeah, how we got to this point.
Yeah, so the first industrial revolution, I mean,
Way back when?
way back when, it was all about mechanization. I mean, the poster child for that was the steam engine. And then you go to the second, and that was really all about mass production.
Right.
Fueled by electricity and assembly lines.
Right.
So you see these kind of these huge leaps, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to the third industrial revolution, and that's where we get computers and the internet, which is where
we're at now.
Where we are now. And the fourth industrial revolution is really building upon all of that. And it's bringing this new layer of enhanced cognitive power.
Right.
Which is really
augmenting
human capability in ways that we just haven't seen before.
We could never have even imagined. Right. So we're moving beyond just, automating physical tasks, and we're getting into this human machine collaboration at
a deeper,
at a mental level,
cognitive level.
Yeah. Which I guess begs the question, right, of disruption, which is kind of a recurring theme in Schwab's book.
Yes, and I think it's something that we all feel at this point. The disruption is palpable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've seen, companies like Airbnb, Uber, Alibaba. I mean, they just came out of nowhere.
Seemingly overnight.
Overnight, yeah. And now they're just household names. They're just,
giants.
Yeah. And they've completely challenged
whole industries,
yeah. So, I mean, this velocity of disruption
is profound.
It's profound, and it really has huge implications for,
for businesses,
for governments, for individuals,
for
everything, really, yeah. And I think, from a business perspective, it means that companies really have to constantly adapt.
Oh yeah,
constantly. Yeah, if you want to stay competitive.
If you're not changing, you're dying.
Right. And then, countries really need to focus on building these ecosystems for innovation.
Absolutely. You need that fertile ground for...
Right. Yeah, to really thrive. Right. And that brings us to kind of a huge question, I think, that Schwab talks a lot about, which is the impact of all of this on labor and on inequality.
And inequality, yeah. I mean...
Because, he makes the point that technology is enabling us to create wealth.
With fewer and fewer workers.
Right. And that raises the question.
Huge questions.
Yeah, huge questions about widening inequality and, and the potential for unrest and for...
For sure.
Yeah, societal issues, right?
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. And it all kind of boils down to this central debate that's happening right now, which is, is technology ultimately going to create more jobs than it displaces?
Right.
Or are we looking at
mass unemployment?
Mass unemployment.
And early signs suggest...
Early indicator...
that it's the latter.
...are not looking good. It's suggesting that there's going to be significant job displacement.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Across a lot of industries.
Across all kinds of industries.
Right. Yeah.
In the next few decades.
Yeah.
What's really scary is that professions that we once thought were safe, like, lawyers, doctors, people in finance, they're all likely to see huge changes. Yeah. So it's not just
manual and repetitive jobs.
Yeah, right. It's not just the blue-collar jobs that are at risk, right?
Yeah.
Even highly specialized skills.
Could be automated.
Yeah. Partly or even fully.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah. So, that could lead to a huge shift.
Massive shift.
Yeah.
In the job market.
In the job market. Wow. And then
on top of that, you have this whole rise of the on-demand economy.
Right.
Which is often called the gig economy.
Right. And it's changing our relationship with work.
It really is.
Big time.
Big time. You think about things like
the human cloud.
The human cloud, which connects workers with companies.
For specific tasks.
Right.
This is becoming the norm.
Right. And Schwab, he talks a lot about this new model.
It's fascinating.
Right. And it's interesting because he sees
the benefits and the drawbacks.
Right. The pluses and the minuses.
The pluses and minuses.
Yeah. Because on the one hand, it offers flexibility. A lot of flexibility.
Yeah. Opportunity. You can be your own boss, set your own hours, all of that.
You're not tied to one company.
Yeah.
But there's also the question of,
worker rights.
Exploitation.
Yeah. Are you really getting the benefits that you would get if you were a full-time employee?
Exactly. I think there needs to be a real rethinking of...
Yeah. The whole social contracts.
Social contracts, employment contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To adapt to this new reality.
Right.
It seems like businesses are also facing a similar imperative to adapt, right? Schwab points to, the shrinking lifespan of companies on the S&P 500.
Absolutely. It used to be that you could...
You're around for a long time.
You've been around for decades and decades, and you're set.
Now you can be disrupted so quickly.
Yeah. These new entrants come in...
Out of nowhere.
You're gone.
Yeah. So it really...
Sink or swim at this point.
Right. And I think what Schwab emphasizes is that for companies to thrive in this new era,
they have to be much more
agile,
customer-centric.
Yeah, customer-centric.
Data-driven.
Data is king these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, collaboration.
Oh, yeah. That's key.
Yeah, strategic partnerships are going to become more and more...
essential.
Yeah, essential. Yeah. Absolutely. So businesses need to be nimble, adaptable, focused on creating value.
Absolutely.
In this rapidly changing landscape.
Yes.
And, what about governments? What role do they play in all this?
It's interesting because governments are also going to have to adapt if they want to stay relevant.
And effective.
They really need to kind of reinvent themselves in a way.
Right. Become more agile, find new ways to engage with citizens.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is going to be rethinking regulations.
Right, because you can't just have these one-size-fits-all approaches.
Exactly. You have to be flexible and adapt to the changes.
Because technology moves so fast. Exactly. It's moving at warp speed.
Yeah. And it seems like cities have an important role to play as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
The cities that embrace technology and innovation
are going to be the ones that thrive.
Yeah. They're going to be the ones that attract talent and investment.
Right.
But the key is bridging the digital divide.
Right. Making sure that
everybody has access.
Everybody has access.
Everybody has digital literacy.
Right. So it's not just about
having the technology.
Right.
It's about making sure that it benefits everyone.
So cities could become these launch pads. For digital transformation.
Absolutely. If you can get those startups, the established businesses
working together
with the citizens.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's really exciting.
So this all brings us to the individual.
Right.
And the individual's role in all of this.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting. Schwab makes the point that it's not just changing
What we do.
what we do, but who we are.
Who we are.
Right. I mean, it goes beyond just the economic and the political.
Absolutely. It goes
It's
into,
our sense of self,
yeah, it affects
our identity,
Yeah.
our privacy, our
Consumption pattern.
our relationships,
Yeah.
how we interact with each other.
Yeah. Even our health. Right. I mean, and there are these huge ethical questions that come up.
Especially when you're talking about things like AI
AI,
and
biotechnology.
biotechnology.
Yeah.
So as we're navigating this,
Mm-hmm.
well, we need to be asking ourselves these questions
Absolutely.
and making sure that technology serves humanity.
And not the other way around.
Right. Not the other way around.
Right.
And I think that's something that Schwab, he devotes a lot of his book to, which is the topic of leadership
Yes.
in this new era.
Yeah. And he's very clear that a new style of leadership is needed.
Right. And he calls it human-centered leadership.
Human-centered leadership. It's really interesting. He talks about these 4 types of intelligence that leaders need to cultivate.
Well, that's fascinating. Well, I can't wait to learn more about that. So I guess that's something we'll explore in
In the next part of
the next part of our deep dive.
our deep dive.
Yeah. So we'll explore those 4 types of intelligence. We'll talk about the ethical and philosophical considerations,
Absolutely.
this whole revolution.
And really dig deeper into this whole idea of human-centered leadership.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up
For now.
for now. Yeah. So we'll be back in the next part of our deep dive into the 4th Industrial Revolution. As we kind of dig deeper into this 4th Industrial Revolution, it becomes clear that it's not just about the technology, right? It really goes beyond that.
Oh, absolutely.
It really gets into the philosophical,
Yeah.
Schwab, he really takes us there
Yeah, he really does.
to this place where we have to re-examine
what it means to be human.
what it means to be human, in this rapidly changing world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the point that he really drives home is that these technological advancements that we're seeing, they really have the potential to reshape how we see ourselves,
Right.
our capabilities, even our mortality.
Right. I mean, it's
And he goes into detail
mind-blowing.
about the impact of technology on our identity, on our morality, our ethics.
Yeah.
And, we're really seeing these innovations and things like biotechnology,
Right.
AI. They're raising these fundamental questions about, like, what is human existence,
Yeah. It's almost like we're entering this era where science fiction is becoming reality.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Right. I mean, concepts like life extension,
Right.
designer babies,
Memory manipulation.
memory manipulation, things that were once just, figments of our imagination.
In the realm of the imagination.
Yeah. And now they're
Now we're talking about them as real possibilities.
real possibilities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's huge.
It's huge. It really challenges our traditional notions of...
Of what it means to be human.
Exactly.
Right. And it forces us to grapple with these ethical dilemmas.
Dilemmas that previous generations could never even have conceived of.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine trying to have this conversation like 50 years ago?
It would be
It
impossible.
would be, yeah. It would be like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. But this is the reality that we're living in.
Right.
And I think, Schwab really, really emphasizes the importance of having these ethical discussions now.
Yeah.
As these technologies are being developed.
Right.
We need to be thinking about the potential misuse.
You're right. The unintended consequences.
Exactly.
Right. And making sure that whatever we discover, whatever we develop, that it actually serves humanity as a whole.
Yeah. Serves the greater good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just about the capabilities themselves.
It's how we use them.
Right. It's how we use them and what
ethical framework?
the ethical framework that we build around that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we need to be having these conversations about, like, what are the limits of human enhancement?
Right.
Who gets access to these technologies?
Right.
And how do we prevent them from exacerbating existing inequalities?
Yeah, that's huge.
That's really...
Right, because if not,
Right.
I mean,
It's just going to make things worse.
it's going to create an even bigger divide.
Absolutely. And I think that, that's something that we've seen with every technological revolution. There's winners and losers.
Right.
And we have to make sure that we're not
That's
creating...
bringing everybody along.
that we're lifting everybody up.
Right. Right. And that it's equitable.
Exactly.
And I think, Schwab makes this other really interesting point, which is that that he's concerned.
He's concerned that this technology
Yeah.
might actually diminish our human capacities
Right.
for things like self-reflection,
Right.
empathy,
Compassion.
He's really worried that our increasing reliance on technology is going to erode
These essential qualities
these essential qualities that
that make us human.
define our humanity. And
Yeah.
it's a valid concern
It is.
because it's so easy to get caught up in
In the excitement of it all.
the excitement of it all.
Right. The shiny new toys.
Exactly.
And overlook those potential downsides.
Yeah. And I think a really good example of that is just
Our phones.
our relationship with our mobile technology.
Yeah.
We're constantly connected. We're always on.
Yeah.
And that can have a really detrimental effect on our ability to disconnect,
Yeah.
to recharge, to engage in meaningful
Face-to-face interaction.
face-to-face interactions. And I think what happens is this constant barrage of information, this constant notification, and notification.
Yeah.
It can just overwhelm our cognitive capacity
Yeah.
and leave us feeling drained and disconnected from
Ourselves. From
ourselves,
From other people.
from other people, from the world around us.
Yeah. It's almost like we're
Trading depth for breadth.
we're sacrificing genuine connection for this
Superficial.
sense of constant engagement.
Yeah, right. And Schwab, I think he's calling for us to be
More mindful. Yeah.
and to have a more
Unpacks,
balanced approach
Yeah.
to technology.
And I think that's exactly right. He really advocates for this conscious awareness of both the benefits and the potential pitfalls of technology.
Yeah.
And I think
It's about making choices, right?
making choices,
Yeah.
being deliberate,
Right. And making sure that technology is serving us,
and not dictating our lives.
not dictating our life.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about reclaiming our agency and saying, you know what? This technology, it's a tool.
Right.
It's a tool for human flourishing. It's not my master.
Right. And that brings to mind his point about the potential for a generational divide
Yeah.
when it comes to technology.
Because you have those who grew up surrounded by this.
Right. The digital natives.
The digital native.
And they have a very different relationship
Than those of us.
with it.
Yeah. Those of us who had to adapt to it later in life.
Exactly.
And that can, I think, lead to some misunderstandings.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Some tension.
Because they have different expectations,
Yeah.
different values than those who,
Remember a time before the internet?
Exactly.
Oh,
like, remember dial-up.
Oh, I remember dial-up, yeah. And so that really highlights the need for,
Open dialogue.
open dialogue and understanding across the generations.
Yeah. We need to find ways to bridge that divide.
Right. Make sure
wondering
everybody
if you- feels included and
included and empowered
yeah.
in this.
Yeah, because we're all in this together.
We're all in this together. And I think that open communication
Right.
and this willingness to learn from each other
From different perspectives.
is crucial.
Yeah.
Because I think that the digital natives can learn, those who have seen, how technology has shaped our world.
Exactly.
We're
Right.
covered.
We can learn from history.
And we can also learn from the fresh perspectives
That's
of
so
the
great.
younger generation.
We need both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about, a technological revolution.
It's a cultural and societal one.
It's a cultural and societal one, yeah. Our values, our norms, our understanding of
Of what it means to be human.
what it means to be human, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all being reshaped by
Yes,
these
forces.
yeah. And so to navigate all of this, it's going to take leadership that's not just technologically savvy.
It's got to be ethically grounded,
Yeah.
empathetic, vision-driven.
Yeah, so that brings us back to Schwab's point about human-centered leadership,
Yeah.
which is something that he
hammers on.
he really emphasizes it throughout the book.
Absolutely. And so in the final part of our deep dive, I think we really need to unpack that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to cultivate this type of leadership?
Right. What are the qualities? What are the skills?
What are the skills that are needed to guide us through this?
Yeah. To guide us through the...
In a way that actually benefits
Yeah.
all of humanity.
Right.
So that's what we'll dig into in part 3.
Okay, so we've talked about how the fourth industrial revolution is really going to demand a new breed of leader.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who can navigate not just the technological stuff, but the ethical and the societal implications of all of this.
Exactly. And that's where this framework that Schwab lays out comes in
Right.
the human-centered leadership.
Right. And you were talking about how he he emphasizes these 4 types of intelligence.
4 types of intelligence.
Yeah, that leaders in this era,
Really need to cultivate.
yeah, really need to cultivate if they're going to be successful.
Yeah, so let's unpack those a little bit, starting with
Contextual intelligence,
contextual intelligence.
which we touched on earlier.
Right.
Right.
So what does that really mean?
Well, it's really about understanding the bigger picture.
Yeah. It's about being able to see how all of these different systems and trends are interconnected
Okay.
and being able to kind of anticipate
Future scenarios.
future scenarios, yeah. Kind of seeing around corners.
So it's like connecting the dots, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
Okay. So in today's world, I mean, leaders really have to move beyond that siloed thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Embrace a more holistic perspective.
Holistic, yeah. And it's about being constantly
Learning. Yeah.
scanning the horizon
Right.
for those emerging trends.
Looking for the signal
The signals, yeah,
Yeah.
and making those connections.
between things that might not seem
Closely connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense. What about the second type of intelligence?
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, so crucial
Absolutely
for
crucial.
building trust, for fostering collaboration, for navigating that human side of change, which often gets overlooked.
Right. People tend to focus on the technology and forget about the people.
Exactly.
Right. So it's not just about being, intellectually sharp.
It's about being attuned
Yeah.
to the emotions of others.
Did yourself.
And yourself. It's about that self-awareness.
Right.
Leaders with high emotional intelligence, they're empathetic.
Yeah.
They're really good at managing relationships.
Because they understand that this revolution, it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about
It's about people.
people. Yeah.
It's about leading with
The head and the heart.
head in the heart.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've got a contextual intelligence, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Then there's the third one, which is
Inspired intelligence.
inspired intelligence. Okay. What is that all about?
Well, this is really about purpose-driven leadership.
Right.
It's about having a vision that's bigger than yourself
Okay.
and inspiring others
To buy into that vision.
to buy into it, to get excited about it, to
Yes.
work towards that common goal.
So it's about leading with
with
You're like,
passion, with
leading, yeah,
conviction.
right.
It's about having that deep sense of meaning and purpose.
Okay. So contextual intelligence, emotional intelligence, inspired intelligence, that's quite a trifecta.
It is. And then the fourth one, which might seem a little bit out of left field,
Okay.
is physical intelligence.
Physical intelligence.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would usually think of physicality as a form of intelligence.
Right.
So can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, it's not about being like physically strong or athletic in the traditional sense.
Go ahead.
It's really about understanding the importance of physical well-being
Okay.
and developing those practices that support
Both mental and physical.
both mental and physical health.
Yep.
So things like sleep, nutrition, exercise,
Stress management.
stress management, taking
Okay.
care of yourself
Right.
holistically.
So basically what you're saying is to be an effective leader in this crazy world.
You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be resilient.
Right.
You got to be energetic. You got to be able to maintain focus and clarity.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like that saying, healthy body, healthy mind.
Yeah, it's really important, and Schwab really emphasizes that.
Yeah. It makes sense that would be, a key component of effective leadership.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to recap, we've got these 4 types of intelligence:
Mm-hmm.
contextual, emotional, inspired, and
Yeah.
physical.
Right.
It's really a holistic approach
Yeah.
to leadership that recognizes that these different dimensions, they're all
Interconnected.
They're all
Yeah.
interconnected. Yeah. And so it's really about leading with both,
Head and the heart,
the head and the heart.
mind and the body.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing how everything is connected and being able to lead in a way that's
Technologically savvy,
technologically savvy, but also
deeply human.
deeply human.
Yeah. So it sounds like a challenging
It is.
but really important undertaking.
Yeah. But it's also exciting, right? I mean, we really have this opportunity to shape the future.
Yeah. It's a call to action for all of us.
For all of us, not just those in like
Traditional leadership positions.
traditional leadership roles. We all
Yeah.
have a part to play in this.
Yeah. So what does all this mean for you, the listener?
Right. How can you engage with this revolution
Yeah.
in a meaningful way? How can you shape it?
Yeah, yeah. What's your role in all of this?
Exactly. And that's really the question that we want to leave you with.
Yeah.
Reflect on your own unique skills,
Mm-hmm.
your passions, your perspectives.
Yeah.
How can you use those to contribute to a future that's both
Technologically advanced.
and
Centered.
human-centered?
Right. Yeah.
Because this is not something that's happening to us. This
Yeah.
is something that we are all
Creating together.
actively creating and shaping.
Yeah. It's a future that we're all creating together.
One choice at a time.
Yeah. One action at a time. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Fourth Industrial Revolution.